If you were born weak in Sparta, you were left on a mountain to die before you even had a name. That wasn't a punishment. That was day one. And if you survived that test, things did not get better. They got worse. Much worse. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Spartan children were beaten, starved, and sent to kill in the dark before they ever became adults. Spartan training began the moment you were born, not when you turned 7, not when you started school, the day you were born, and your first test happened before you could even open your eyes properly. State officials examined every single newborn baby in Sparta. If you looked weak, if you looked sickly, if you looked even slightly different, you failed. According to ancient sources, babies who failed this inspection were taken to the slopes of Mount Taygetus and left there to die. That's how Spartan childhood began, before you even had a childhood. But surviving birth was just the beginning. It gets so much worse. If you were a boy and you passed inspection, you got 6 peaceful years with your family. Then at exactly age 7, that ended completely. Spartan boys were taken from their families at age 7 to begin the brutal Agoge training system. Not for a few hours, not for school during the day. You were taken away completely. You were ripped from your mother's arms and thrown into one of history's most brutal education systems. This system had a name, the Agoge. It was a 13-year program designed to turn children into emotionless killing machines. Let's talk about where you'd actually live now. You lived in communal barracks called Agoges, supervised by older boys and adult trainers. No parents, no privacy, just other boys and the men training you. You slept on reeds, not a bed, not even a simple mat, just reeds you had to gather yourself. Your clothing was minimal, one single tunic. That was it. In freezing winter and blazing summer, you weren't given shoes. Most boys went barefoot their entire childhood. And here's the part that should genuinely shock you. You were deliberately underfed, on purpose. As a strategy, boys were taught to steal food to develop cunning and stealth. The trainers wanted you hungry enough to risk getting caught stealing, because if you got caught, the punishment taught you something too. Spartans turned this into an actual ritual. Boys tried to steal cheeses from a temple altar while guards waited with whips. Getting whipped wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was treated as a test of courage boys actually looked forward to. Imagine being proud of being beaten in public. That was completely normal here. Now let's talk about what you'd actually be doing all day. Your daily routine was packed with brutal physical exercises, wrestling, running, constant military drills. There was no break for being tired, no break for being hurt. You were organized into groups called herds, always led by an older boy. And here's something that would shock most parents today. Loyalty to your herd was placed above loyalty to your own family. Your mother and father weren't your priority anymore. The state made sure of that. But here's where the story gets genuinely disturbing. Around age 18, the most elite boys were selected for something called the Krypteia. This wasn't training anymore. This was something far worse. These young men were sent into the countryside with nothing but a knife. Their job? To terrorize and kill the helots, the state-owned serfs who outnumbered actual Spartans. Helots outnumbered Spartan citizens by as much as 7 to 1, so the state trained teenagers to murder people in the dark, to keep everyone else too afraid to rebel. This wasn't a mistake in the system. This was the system working exactly as designed. Now you might be wondering what happened to girls in Sparta. It's actually surprising. Spartan girls didn't go through the Agoge, but they received a separate state-supervised education. It focused on physical fitness, gymnastics, and academics, far more advanced than education for women anywhere else in ancient Greece. But the actual purpose wasn't independence. It was to prepare them to become strong mothers of future warriors. Even their strength existed to serve the same machine. Let's go back to the boys, because the ending of this story is brutal in its own way. After 14 years of this, boys who passed everything became full Spartan citizens, but only at age 30 years old. That's how long the system owned you before you were considered a real citizen. And if you failed, it got worse, not better. Spartans who failed the Agoge were denied full citizenship completely. They were called hypomeiones, meaning inferiors. They lost their political rights and their social standing forever. There was no second chance, no retraining. Your entire identity was decided by age 30. And here's the twist almost nobody talks about. The entire Agoge existed because Sparta was terrified of being overthrown by the very people they enslaved. This wasn't really about creating perfect warriors for glory. It was about fear of an uprising, every brutal beating, every stolen meal, every night sleeping on reeds. All of it existed to maintain control over a population that outnumbered them 7-1. As one historian put it, the Agoge was a trial by ordeal, and it worked. The Agoge produced the warriors who held the line at Thermopylae against a Persian army that vastly outnumbered them. But ask yourself this: would you trade your entire childhood, your family, your freedom for that? Most people today complain about strict parents or tough gym teachers. Spartan children were taken from their homes at 7, beaten as a badge of honor, starved on purpose, and sent to kill in the dark as teenagers. History rarely shows you this side of Sparta. The movies show the muscles and the spears. They don't show the 7-year-old being pulled from his mother's arms. If your idea of ancient warriors came from movies, this channel exists to show you what actually happened. Subscribe to Revelox, and we'll keep unlocking the facts history never told you.